Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will change how you see everything. In the coastal town of Tidefall, there lived a 12-year-old girl named Shola. She loved school, just like you probably do. She had friends, favorite teachers, and dreams of becoming a scientist one day. But 3 years ago, something happened that she couldn't explain. Her older brother, Kai, graduated from the Academy of Tides with perfect grades. Everyone celebrated. Her parents threw a big party. The whole town congratulated them. But from the moment Kai came home, Shola knew something was terribly wrong. He smiled, but his eyes looked empty. He spoke, but his words sounded rehearsed, like he was reading from a script. At dinner, he would stare at his food without eating until someone told him to start. Most frightening of all, Shola noticed he never blinked during conversations anymore. She thought maybe he was just tired from studying so hard. Weeks passed, then months. Kai got a job at the harbor, working perfectly but never complaining, never laughing, never acting like the brother who used to chase her around the house. One night, Shola woke up thirsty and walked to the kitchen. She found Kai standing completely still in the dark hallway, eyes wide open, not breathing. When she screamed, he suddenly gasped and looked at her confused, asking why she was yelling. The next morning, Shola tried to talk to her parents about what she saw, but they dismissed her concerns. "Your brother is just growing up," her mother said while packing lunches. "He's becoming responsible and mature." But Shola couldn't shake the feeling that something had been taken from Kai. She decided to search his room while he was at work. Hidden under his mattress, she found his old diary. The last entry, written the night before graduation, made her blood run cold. It read, "If I come back different, if I'm not really me anymore, please remember who I was. Don't let them take you too, Shola. The academy isn't what everyone thinks." Her hands trembled as she read those words over and over. What did he mean by them? Who would take her? That afternoon at the Academy of Tides, Shola couldn't focus on her lessons. She looked around at her classmates, all sitting perfectly straight, all paying complete attention to the teacher. She noticed things she'd never questioned before. Why did everyone drink from the special water fountain 3 times a day? Why did every classroom have that strange spiral painted on the ceiling? Why did teachers touch each student's forehead every morning during assembly, calling it a blessing? During lunch, Shola sat with her best friend Lena, who had always been loud and funny. But lately, Lena barely talked anymore. She ate her food in silence, chewing exactly 20 times before swallowing, just like every other student around them. "Lena, do you remember when you used to hate math class?" Shola asked carefully. Lena looked up with a strange, distant smile. "I love all my classes now. Learning is an honor. Serving is an honor." The words sounded robotic, rehearsed. Shola felt sick to her stomach. After school, instead of going straight home, she followed a path along the beach that students were forbidden from using. The teachers always said it was dangerous, that the currents were too strong. But Shola had to know why it was really off limits. She walked for 20 minutes until she found a hidden cave behind some rocks. Inside, the walls were damp and covered in green moss. But what stopped her heart were the things scattered across the cave floor. Graduation gowns, dozens of them, old and torn, stained with something that looked like dark blue ink. And carved into the walls were desperate messages. "They're not who they say. Don't graduate. The ocean takes everything." Shola's hands shook as she picked up one of the gowns. She checked the name tag sewn inside and nearly dropped it. The name read Kai-chun. This was her brother's graduation gown. But why was it here, abandoned and torn? Before she could process this, she heard something that made her freeze. Singing. Beautiful, haunting singing that seemed to come from deeper inside the cave. The melody was unlike anything she'd ever heard, sweet and sad at the same time. Without meaning to, Shola's feet started moving toward the sound. She tried to stop herself, but couldn't. It was like invisible strings were pulling her forward, step by step, deeper into the darkness. Her mind screamed to her to run, but her body wouldn't obey. The singing grew louder, echoing off the cave walls. Just as she was about to turn a corner toward the source of the music, someone grabbed her from behind and clamped a hand over her ears. "Don't listen," a girl's voice hissed urgently. Shola was yanked backward, stumbling out of the cave and back onto the beach. She gasped for air, suddenly free from whatever force had been controlling her. Standing in front of her was a 13-year-old girl with wild curly hair and fierce eyes. "You almost walked right into their trap," the girl said, breathing hard. "Who are you?" Shola managed to ask. "My name is Zara," the girl said, still catching her breath. "And you just almost became their next victim." Shola's mind raced with questions, but Zara held up a hand. "Not here. They have ears everywhere, especially near the water. Follow me, and whatever you do, act normal." They walked back toward town, pretending to chat casually about homework. Zara led her to an old abandoned warehouse near the docks. Inside, 5 other kids were waiting, all around their age. "Everyone, this is Shola," Zara announced. She found a cave. A skinny boy with glasses stood up. "Did you drink from the school fountain today?" he asked urgently. "Yes, 3 times like we're supposed to," Shola replied, confused. The kids exchanged worried looks. A girl with short black hair spoke up. "My name is Maya. I'm going to tell you something that will sound crazy, but you need to believe us. The water at school isn't just water. It has something in it that makes students obedient. It changes how you think, slowly, over years." Another boy named Kian added, "And those spirals painted on every classroom ceiling? They're hypnotic patterns. Stare at them long enough during class, and your mind becomes easier to control." Shola wanted to call them paranoid, but she thought about Kai, about Lena, about all the perfect, quiet students at the academy. "Why doesn't it affect you?" Shola asked, looking at the 6 kids in front of her. Zara stepped forward. "Because we were all born during lunar eclipses. Something about the eclipse makes us immune to their control. We call ourselves tide-touched." A quiet boy named Oren spoke up for the first time. "I can hear whispers from the ocean, voices that tell students to obey, to forget who they were. But I don't have to listen." Maya pulled out a notebook filled with charts and diagrams. "I've been studying the water samples from school for months. There's a compound in it that comes from deep-sea creatures. When humans drink it, their brains become susceptible to commands, especially sounds at certain frequencies. That singing you heard in the cave? That's how they call students who wander too close." Shola felt dizzy with this information. "Who are they? Who's doing this to us?" Zara's face darkened. "We call them the Marine Lords, ancient beings that live in the deep ocean. 400 years ago, they made a deal with human governments. The governments give them children through these academy schools. And in return, the Marine Lords protect the coast from tsunamis and provide valuable resources from the sea." "That's impossible," Shola whispered. But deep down, she knew it explained everything. That night, Shola couldn't sleep. She lay in bed thinking about everything she'd learned. Around midnight, she heard footsteps in the hallway. She peeked out her door and saw Kai walking toward the front door, moving like he was in trance. She followed him quietly as he left the house and walked toward the beach. Dozens of other people were doing the same thing, all walking in perfect silence toward the ocean. Shola hid behind a tree and watched in horror as they all stood at the water's edge, staring out at the dark waves. Then she heard it again, that haunting song floating across the water. The people on the beach swayed slightly, their lips moving as if responding to the melody. After about 10 minutes, the singing stopped. Everyone turned and walked back home, including Kai, as if nothing had happened. The next morning at breakfast, Kai acted completely normal. Shola tested him carefully. "Did you sleep well last night?" she asked. "Like a rock," he replied with that empty smile. "Didn't wake up once." He had no memory of his midnight walk to the beach. At school, Shola pulled Zara aside during lunch and told her what she'd seen. Zara's face went pale. "They're preparing for something. The midnight calls have been happening more frequently. We need to find out what they're planning." Zara took Shola to meet someone after school, a person she called Elder Oren. Not the student Oren, but an old man who taught history at the academy. "He's been trying to fight his programming for years," Zara whispered as they approached his small office. Elder Oren looked exhausted, with deep wrinkles and trembling hands. When he saw them, his eyes filled with desperate recognition. "More Tide-touched children," he said weakly. "Good. You'll need each other for what's coming." He explained that he had been a student at the academy 50 years ago. He graduated, was converted like all the others, and served the Marine Lords underwater for 30 years. But then something went wrong with his conversion. Memories started coming back. The person he used to be began fighting against the programming. "They brought me back to land to work as a teacher, to keep an eye on new students. But I've been leaving clues for years, hoping someone would notice." He showed them a hidden compartment in his desk filled with documents. The academy system isn't just here in Tidefall. It's in 47 countries around the world, every nation with a coastline. Millions of children have been taken over 4 centuries. Shola felt sick. Why? What do they want with all these people? Elder Oren's hands shook harder. "They're building an army, and it's almost complete." Elder Oren spread a map across his desk showing coastal cities around the world, each marked with a red dot. "Every dot is an academy," he explained. "They all operate the same way. Drugged water, hypnotic symbols, years of subtle conditioning. By the time students graduate, they're ready for full conversion." Maya studied the map intensely. What happens during graduation? Where do the students actually go? The old teacher's face twisted with pain as he fought to remember through his damaged programming. "There's a portal, opens in the water during the ceremony. Students walk through and descend into the Deep Academy, an underwater city where the Marine Lords live. That's where the final conversion happens. They attach something to your brain that lets the Marine Lords control your every thought." "But some come back," Shola said, thinking of Kai. "Why do they return some people to the surface?" Elder Oren nodded. "The Marine Lords need servants on land too, to maintain the system, to recruit new students, to keep the secret. Your brother was chosen to return because your family is influential in town. Having a successful graduate in a respected family encourages other parents to send their children willingly." Shola felt rage building inside her. "How do we stop them?" Elder Oren looked at each of them seriously. "You can't. Not directly. They're too powerful. But there might be another way. The Marine Lords have one weakness," Elder Oren continued, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. "Tide-touched children like you are immune to their control. And over the past decade, more Tide-touched children are being born than ever before. It's like human evolution is fighting back." He pulled out a list of names. "There are 47 Tide-touched children that we know of, one in each academy city around the world. Most don't know they're different yet. But if you could find them, connect with them, you might be able to create a resistance." Zara grabbed the list. "How do we reach them? We can't exactly travel to 47 countries." Maya's eyes lit up. "The Academy Network. All the schools are connected through a computer system. If I could hack into it, I could send a coded message that only Tide-touched children would understand." Elder Oren smiled for the first time. "Smart girl. But be careful. Principal Marin monitors everything." That night, Maya broke into the school's computer lab. Shola stood guard while Maya typed furiously, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "I'm in. Maya whispered excitedly. I can see the whole network. Every academy, every student file, every... She stopped suddenly, her face going white. What is it? Shola asked. Maya turned the screen toward her. It showed a schedule labeled Harvest Moon Ceremony. In 30 days, all the academies would hold simultaneous graduations. 10,000 students would be converted in a single night. We have 30 days, Maya said, her voice shaking. 30 days to warn every Tide-touch child and figure out how to stop the largest mass conversion in history. She quickly sent out coded messages through the Academy network to the names on Elder Orn's list. The code was simple, something only someone paying close attention would notice. The tide is turning. If you can read this, you're not alone. Eclipse children unite. Over the next week, responses started coming back. A boy in Japan, a girl in Brazil, twins in South Africa. One by one, Tide-touch children from around the world made contact. They created a secret chat group, sharing their experiences and observations. Each academy was the same. Drugged water, hypnotic symbols, midnight calls to the beach, students losing their personalities. We need proof, said Kian during one of their meetings in the warehouse. Something we can show the world that can't be denied. Shola had an idea. What if we filmed the graduation ceremony? Showed what really happens when students walk into the water? Zara shook her head. Too dangerous. The Marine Lords would sense us watching. We need something else, something they won't expect. That's when Shola remembered the diary entry Kai wrote before his graduation. What if we could break through to the converted students? Remind them who they used to be. Maya worked through the night, analyzing the water samples more carefully. She discovered something crucial. The compound that makes people obedient breaks down over time. That's why they need students to drink it every day. If someone stopped drinking it for about 2 weeks, their mind would start clearing. But how do we stop everyone from drinking the water? Oren asked. The teachers watch to make sure every student drinks 3 times a day. Shola smiled. We don't stop everyone. We start with one person. We help Kai. That evening, Shola began secretly replacing the water in her home with normal filtered water. It was risky. If Kai's programming sensed something was wrong, he might report it. But she had to try. Days passed slowly. At first, nothing changed. Kai continued his robotic routine, going to work, coming home, sitting silently. But on the 9th day, Shola noticed something different. At dinner, Kai paused with his fork halfway to his mouth and looked confused. This food tastes strange, he said. Like I'm tasting it for the first time. Shola's mother laughed. It's the same recipe I always make. But Shola saw it. A flicker of something real in Kai's eyes. Something human. On the 12th day, Kai had a nightmare and woke up screaming. Shola rushed to his room and found him sitting up in bed, tears streaming down his face. I remember, he whispered. Shola, I remember everything they did to me. Kai's hands wouldn't stop shaking as the memories flooded back. During graduation, they told us to wade into the water. Said it was tradition, but the water started glowing and a portal opened beneath the surface. We walked down into it, down into this massive underwater city made of crystal and coral. Shola held his hand, letting him speak. There were creatures there. Not quite octopus, not quite anything I'd ever seen. Ancient and huge. They welcomed us, said we were chosen to serve a great purpose. Then they brought us to a chamber where they attached these devices to our heads. He touched the back of his skull, and Shola felt a small, hard bump beneath his skin. It's still there. A piece of their technology connected to my brain. That's how they control converted people. They can send commands, suppress emotions, even see through our eyes whenever they want. Can it be removed? Shola asked. Kai shook his head sadly. I don't know. But Shola, there's something else. The Marine Lords are dying. Their species has been slowly going extinct for 2,000 years. The mass conversion in 30 days isn't just about having servants. They're planning something much worse. They want to merge with humans to transfer their consciousness into our bodies so their species can survive. Shola felt cold dread wash over her. How many people are we talking about? Everyone, Kai whispered. Every converted human on Earth. The next morning, Shola brought Kai to meet the other Tide-touched children. At first, they were suspicious. How do we know he's not still under their control? Zara asked, keeping her distance. But Maya examined Kai carefully, using a device she'd built to detect the frequency of Marine Lord commands. The device in his head is dormant right now. He's telling the truth. His mind is his own, at least for now. Kai shared everything he remembered about the underwater city. The layout, the number of Marine Lords, the location of the conversion chambers. There are 3 main Marine Lords who lead the others. Lord Thaler is the eldest, over 3,000 years old. He's the one who made the original deal with human governments 4 centuries ago. Orin, the student who heard ocean whispers, suddenly grabbed his head in pain. They know Kai broke free from his programming. They're sending out a call right now, ordering him to return to the water. Everyone looked at Kai, who had gone pale and still. His eyes started to glaze over. Kai, fight it, Shola shouted, shaking his shoulders. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Kai blinked hard and gasped. It's so strong. The command is so strong. But I can resist it because I know it's there. Most converted people don't even realize they're being controlled. This gave Shola an idea that was either brilliant or insane. What if we could wake up all the converted people at once? Shola proposed. Show them they're being controlled, like we did with Kai. Maya immediately understood. The water supply. If we could contaminate all 47 Academy's water systems with something that neutralizes the compound, millions of people would start waking up over 2 weeks. But the Harvest Moon ceremony is in 23 days, Zara pointed out. Even if we started now, people wouldn't be fully clear until after the mass conversion. Kai spoke up, his voice stronger now. Then we need to delay the ceremony, or to disrupt it somehow. Elder Orin, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke. There's another option, a more dangerous one. If we can gather enough Tide-touched children in one place, your combined immunity might create a field that disrupts the Marine Lord's control signals. But you'd need at least 20 of you, all focused together. We have 47 Tide-touched children identified worldwide, Maya said, checking her laptop. How many could we realistically bring here to Tidefall in 3 weeks? Over the next hour, they planned the most ambitious operation any of them had ever attempted. Using money pooled from their families and some creative lying about a student exchange program, they began arranging travel for Tide-touched children from around the world. One by one, the responses came back. I'll come. Count me in. My parents think I'm crazy, but I believe you. Within 10 days, 19 Tide-touched children had arrived in Tidefall. The warehouse became their headquarters. 19 children from different countries, all born during eclipses, all immune to the control that had trapped millions. They shared their stories late into the night. A boy from Norway described how he'd watched his entire village change over the years, becoming quieter and more obedient. A girl from Thailand told how she'd been called crazy for questioning why graduates never seemed happy anymore. They all carried the same burden, seeing the truth while everyone around them lived in comfortable ignorance. We need more than 20 people, Zara said during a strategy meeting. Elder Orin said at least 20 to create a disruption field. We have 19. I know where we can find one more, Kai said quietly. My friend Marcus graduated 2 years ago, but before his conversion was complete, something went wrong. They sent him back to land, but his device malfunctioned. He's been pretending to be fully converted to survive, but he's partially free like Elder Oren. They found Marcus working at the town library, shelving books with mechanical precision. When Shola approached him and whispered, "The tide is turning," his hands froze. His eyes met hers, and she saw recognition flash across his face. That evening, Marcus joined them at the warehouse, making 20. "So what's the plan?" he asked. Maya pulled up a diagram on her laptop. "In 13 days, during the harvest moon ceremony, all the students will be called to the beach. That's when we strike. The Marine Lords will open portals in the water at exactly midnight," Maya explained, pointing to her research. 10,000 students from 47 academies will walk into the ocean simultaneously. But here's what we discovered. The portals require massive amounts of energy. They have to lower their defensive shields to create them. A girl from Egypt named Safia asked, "What defensive shields?" Kai answered, "The underwater city is protected by a barrier that keeps humans from approaching. You can't just swim down there. The shield pushes you back, makes you confused, makes you turn around. But for those few minutes when the portals are open, the shield has to drop." "So we have a window," Zara said, understanding dawning. "A window to do what exactly?" Shola took a deep breath. "To broadcast the truth. If we can get into the underwater city with cameras, show the world what's really happening, the Marine Lords lose their power. Their system only works because it's secret. Exposure destroys them. But how do we get cameras down there?" Oren asked. "The water pressure alone would crush any normal equipment." Maya smiled. "Not if we use their own technology." "Marcus, when you were partially converted, did they teach you how to operate Marine Lord devices?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Some of it, yes, including their communication systems. If I could access a terminal in the underwater city, I could broadcast on every frequency. Television, radio, internet, everything all at once." They had 12 days to prepare. Maya worked with Marcus to build waterproof cases for cameras and communication devices using stolen Marine Lord technology that Marcus remembered how to operate. The other Tide Touch children trained themselves to maintain focus together, practicing creating their disruption field. When they all concentrated at once, lights flickered and electronic devices went haywire. "Your combined immunity creates an interference pattern," Elder Oren explained. "You're not attacking the Marine Lords directly. You're just making it impossible for them to send clear control signals." Shola spent every spare moment with Kai, helping him resist the increasingly urgent commands coming from the ocean. "They're suspicious," he said through gritted teeth. "They keep trying to summon me back. It's taking all my strength to refuse." On the 8th day before the ceremony, Principal Marin called Shola to her office. Shola's heart pounded as she walked through the empty hallways. Had they been discovered? But when she entered the office, Principal Marin did something unexpected. She locked the door and began to cry. "I know what you're planning," she said, "and I want to help." Shola stepped back, ready to run, but Principal Marin held up her hands. "I'm like Elder Oren. My programming has been breaking down for years. I've been watching you and the others, leaving the warehouse unlocked at night, deleting security footage. Please, let me help you finish this." Principal Marin revealed information that changed their entire plan. The Marine Lords aren't just opening portals here in Tidefall. The main portal, the largest one, opens in the Pacific Ocean at the exact spot where they first made contact with humans 400 years ago. Lord Thaler himself will be there, overseeing the mass conversion. "Why does that matter?" Zara asked. "Because if Lord Thaler is killed or captured, the entire operation falls apart," Principal Marin explained. "He's the only one old enough to remember the original agreement with human governments. He's the one who maintains the control network. Without him, the system collapses." Kai leaned forward. "Are you saying we should try to kill him?" "No. Principal Marin said firmly. I'm saying we should try to talk to him. Lord Thaler didn't want this originally. The Marine Lords were desperate, dying. Humans offered them a deal too tempting to refuse. But I've sensed his regret over the years through the control network. He hates what he's become. Shola struggled to believe this. You're saying the ancient creature who's been enslaving humans for centuries feels bad about it. He's trapped in a system just like we are, Principal Marin insisted. He signed a treaty with human governments. Breaking it means war with the most powerful nations on Earth. He's been looking for a way out for decades. This revelation changed everything. Maybe they didn't need to fight. Maybe they needed to offer a different solution. With 6 days remaining, they revised their plan. The 20 Tide-Touch children would still create their disruption field during the ceremony, but instead of just broadcasting evidence, they would try to negotiate. Marcus worked with Principal Marin to prepare a proposal, a new treaty that would free all converted humans in exchange for the Marine Lords receiving something else they desperately needed. What could we possibly offer them? Asked Jean, a boy from South Korea. Maya had the answer. Medical research. My mother is a scientist who specializes in genetics. I've been corresponding with her secretly, asking hypothetical questions about cross-species survival. She thinks it might be possible to help the Marine Lords reproduce naturally again, without needing to merge with humans. Would your mother help us? Shola asked. Maya nodded. If she knew the truth, yes. She's one of the good ones. They drafted a proposal. Humanity would dedicate resources to saving the Marine Lord species through science and cooperation, but all mind control would end immediately. All converted humans would be freed. The academy system would be dismantled. It was ambitious and probably impossible, but it was better than the alternative. On the third day before the ceremony, Elder Oren collapsed during one of their meetings. His programming was reasserting itself, fighting his resistance. I don't have much time, he gasped. They're going to pull me back fully. But I need to tell you something important. The devices in converted people's heads can be deactivated, but only Lord Thaler knows how. 2 days before the Harvest Moon ceremony, Shola's mother discovered their plans. She had followed Shola to the warehouse and listened from outside, hearing everything. When Shola came home that night, her mother was waiting at the kitchen table, her face unreadable. Sit down, she said quietly. Shola's heart sank. This was it. Her mother would stop them, call the authorities, maybe even alert the academy. But instead, her mother said something Shola never expected. I was Tide-Touched, too. Shola's mouth fell open. What? I was born during an eclipse, just like you. When I was your age, I discovered the same truth you did. I tried to fight back, try to expose them. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. But they threatened your father. Said they'd convert him and make me watch. So I made a deal. I became a shepherd. What's a shepherd? Shola whispered. Someone who helps maintain the system on land. I've been identifying Tide-Touched children for years, reporting them to Principal Marin, so they could be watched carefully, kept from causing trouble. Shola felt like the floor had disappeared beneath her. You betrayed other children? To protect my family. To protect you. Her mother reached across the table, but Shola pulled away. I thought if I kept you close, kept you safe, you'd never have to make the choice I did. But you're braver than I ever was. Zura, Maya, Kian, all the Tide-Touched children you've been working with, her mother continued. I reported all of them. The Marine Lords know about your group. They've been watching you this entire time. Shola stood up, so fast her chair fell over. I have to warn them. But her mother grabbed her wrist. Wait, let me finish. I reported you, yes. But Principal Marin has been sabotaging my reports, making it seem like you were all harmless, just imaginative children playing rebellion games. She's been protecting you. Why are you telling me this now? Because tomorrow is the ceremony, and you need to know something. The Marine Lords aren't just watching you. They're planning to make an example of you. All 20 Tide-touched children in Tidefall. They're going to force convert you during the ceremony, broadcast it to every other Tide-touched child in the world as a warning. Shola felt cold all over. How do you know this? Because they asked me to help. To bring you to the beach tomorrow night. To stand there and watch as my daughter loses everything that makes her human. Her mother's voice broke. I said yes. I had to, or they'd suspect. But Shola, I'm done being a coward. Tell me how I can help you stop them. For the first time in her life, Shola saw her mother not as a parent, but as a person. Someone who'd made terrible choices out of fear, who'd lived with guilt for years. They had one day to change the plan completely. Shola gathered all 20 Tide-touched children and the adults who'd been helping them. They know everything, she announced. We can't do what we planned. They'll be expecting us. Despair filled the warehouse. Jean started crying. Sophia punched a wall in frustration. But Marcus, the partially converted young man, stood up with a strange look in his eyes. Then we give them what they expect. We show up at the beach tomorrow night. We let them think they've won. Are you insane? Zara shouted. They'll convert us. They'll try, Marcus said calmly. But here's what they don't know. When Elder Oren collapsed 2 days ago, before his programming fully took over again, he told me something. The conversion process takes 30 minutes. And during those 30 minutes, the Marine Lord's attention is completely focused on the person being converted. They're vulnerable. Maya understood immediately. You're saying while they're trying to convert all 20 of us, that's when we strike. Exactly, Marcus said. They think they're teaching a lesson. Really, they're giving us the opening we need. While they're focused on conversion, I can access their systems, broadcast everything, and expose them to the world. Kai added, and I know where Lord Thaler will be. He always personally oversees mass conversions. If we can reach him during the chaos, we can try to negotiate. Shola's mother stepped forward. I can help get you close to him. The shepherds have access other humans don't. The harvest moon rose huge and orange over Tidefall. At 11:30 that night, every student from the Academy of Tides gathered on the beach, along with their families. It looked like a celebration. Parents had brought blankets and food. They thought they were witnessing their children's triumph, their graduation into important positions serving the great ocean court. But Shola, standing among the crowd with her 19 fellow Tide-touched children, knew the truth. At 11:50, Principal Marin walked to the water's edge and began the ceremony. Tonight, we honor those chosen to serve in the Deep Academy. It is the greatest privilege our town can offer. The students lined up, smiling their empty smiles, ready to walk into the glowing portals that were beginning to form in the waves. Then Principal Marin did something that wasn't part of the script. She turned to the crowd and said, "But first, I have a confession to make." She pressed a button on a device Marcus had given her, and her voice boomed across every screen, every phone, every device in Tidefall. Everything you've been told is a lie. Your children aren't being honored. They're being enslaved. And I'm going to show you exactly what happens during graduation. The cameras Marcus had hidden around the beach activated, streaming live to the world. Principal Marin began telling the truth, all of it, while the Marine Lord's portals glowed brighter, reacting to the disruption. Chaos erupted. Parents rushed toward the water, trying to pull their children back. The students, still under control, kept walking forward like nothing was happening. From the ocean emerged shapes that made people scream. The Marine Lords, forced to reveal themselves, rose from the waves. They were massive, terrifying, ancient beyond imagination. And they were focused entirely on Principal Marin, trying to shut down her broadcast, try to restore control. That's when the 20 Tide-touched children joined hands. The disruption field they created was stronger than anything they practiced. Electronic devices exploded. The portals flickered and destabilized. Students stopped walking, blinking in confusion as the commands in their heads went silent. In the chaos, Shola's mother led her through the crowd toward the largest portal, where Lord Thaler was emerging. He was enormous, with eyes that held 3,000 years of memory. Shola held up the proposal they'd written, protected in waterproof material. "We can help you survive without enslaving us," she shouted over the noise. "There's another way." For a moment, Lord Thaler's ancient eyes studied her. Then, slowly, he reached out with a massive tentacle and took the document. Around the world, 47 academies descended into chaos as the broadcast showed everything. And don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button below for more stories like this. The system that had lasted 400 years crumbled in a single night. And it all started with one 12-year-old girl who refused to believe the world was exactly as she'd been told.